Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. We're so glad to be here. I'm enjoying Leah's lovely background and Jen's world. It's lovely to see you.
I was admiring your gloves, Lucy.
Recycled.
Lovely.
Um, yeah, so we are here tonight to talk to you, or this afternoon, if you are in Genland. We're here to talk to you about the third mindset shift that we are supporting, encouraging, and inviting you to make, to undertake, or to commit to end the way you are frazzled from the juggle, struggling with the juggle. And we're going to invite you this evening to move with us into an integrated way of being, way of living in your life. So I'm Lucy Power. These are my co-founders and beautiful colleagues. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Jen Sutherland. I'm in Canada, which henceforth shall be known as Genland. I like it. I'm just going to take that.
I'm Leah Jovi Ford and I am in the UK, 10 minutes down the road from Lucy. However, I think I shall call it Learland.
Because you were there first.
Oh, I was born here, so, you know.
Oh, okay. Now there's going to be a war.
in the hospital. I'm so glad we're here. So tell us what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about ending the juggle by moving into a new way of being, a way that's much more authentic and self-directed and intentional, aren't we?
Yeah, well, the previous two lives, we've talked about the two other mindset shifts, right? Which are, Leah?
You blanked. That's what you were putting yourself first was number one.
Modeling is number two.
And number two was modeling.
And number three is integration.
Integration.
So number two is about being the change you want to see in the world, so that you model that to everybody around you and invite people to treat you in a new, different and truer way based on who you truly are. This is all about digging through the ways that we've learned how to do as we're told, back into who we truly are, who we were born to be. I need to say my favorite quote, second favorite quote. Eric Byrne said, "We're born princes and the civilizing process makes us frogs." So we are helping you to get back to the prince you were born to be, or princess, or non-binary royal.
And integration is all about taking a good hard look at all of those things that were handed, right? We were just talking before we went live about how so many of the things that were modeled for us, we didn't make those decisions. Those decisions were made for us by somebody else in some point in the history or in our families. And we just take them, we just pack our backpack with them because that's how it's always been. And integration, this third mindset shift, is about asking why and asking if it's serving you and becoming intentional about drawing your own boundaries around things rather than just accepting what is around you and what you've been told or what's been modeled for you.
And I think particularly integration in particular, we are quite used to being encouraged to compartmentalize our lives. So you keep work separate and you keep your kids' world separate and you keep your lives separate, and kids and work just don't mix. And you might have kind of, let's bring our kids to work day once a year, if that, but it's encouraged that we keep things separate, and that makes it really hard to keep all the balls in the air when we're juggling, keeping that little bit separate from this bit separate and from this bit separate. And it particularly with COVID, when all of those worlds have collided and some of those effectively artificially enforced boundaries have kind of collapsed and that are no longer there, we have to start to redraw our own boundaries. And it's about how we can become more conscious and intentional about that and the boundaries that we choose to draw.
And it's uncomfortable for other people, but it's so freeing for ourselves. There have been various points where I've just rejected someone else's construct for what they thought my life should be. And boy, everybody else has a hard time with that. But man, does my life get better when I do it.
Yes. And I think that the bit that you've just said, which is how other people think your life should be. We are trapped often by other people's perspectives and opinions and beliefs about how we should live our lives. And we don't even stop to question those sometimes. It's the model that we've had. So this links back to Mindset Shift 2, which is we've had this modeled to us. We've had, this is the way to live, modeled to us by our parents and our grandparents. And most of the time we don't stop to question that. We just continue down that path. We don't stop to kind of go, hang on, is this the way that I want to do life? Is this the way that I want to live my life?
That's a muscle that we need to build it into, isn't it? One arbitrary, artificial separation that I can think of that's really changed my life in integrating is never mix business with pleasure. That's massive for me. So I have this whole like, I'm working, don't talk to me. I can't laugh, I'm working. I can't have fun, I'm working. I have that, and I've had to really consciously and hard-workingly with great focus and intention undo that, unpick that, and throw it in the bin because it's rubbish.
I love that you bring that one up, Lucy, because me too. I years ago decided that I would not work with anybody that I didn't love. And those are not two words that are supposed to go together. You're not supposed to love the people you work with. They're supposed to be these people that you do whatever you make money with, right? But I just flipped that script and decided if I didn't really love you, I wasn't going to work with you. So now you both know that I really love you.
I really love you, Jen, and you, Leah.
And we spend, but that is so important. And if you ask why that is important, we spend a vast majority of our lives with the people that we work with. So why not be intentional and conscious about, working with people who you actually love and love to spend time with? And, when we're talking about kind of mixing business and pleasure and the personal and the professional, I think the way that we work is a really good example of that. So we have a little WhatsApp group between us for the three of us to communicate, and we officially communicate on Basecamp with the team, but we have a little WhatsApp group, and, we could keep it strictly business and strictly work and keep it to just stuff that is involved in beyond school, and we don't, and we intentionally and consciously don't, and we talk about the personal, and it's all mixed in, and we use Basecamp for really just the work, but that for us it's the mix of business and pleasure, it's the mix of personal and professional, it's the integration of everything, because we are choosing to consciously work with each other in this way.
Well, and because we do better work when we are living authentically in ourselves. And, when I can say to you guys, oh, I'm having a really hard day because this, and instead of, you parroting back to me when my deadlines are due and how I better get myself together, I hear, oh goodness, are you okay? How can I help? Do you need to take a break? There's a whole person care that you allow. And most people in work environments, I think, would extend that to each other because we're all human beings. We all know, but we've collectively decided that we can't do that for each other in the work environment.
And integration, I think, is, we show up as whole. We show up as a whole person. We show up as the personal, the professional, the kids, the relationships, everything. We don't have to split off into, this is my work persona. This is my, mom persona. This is my partner persona, or, whatever that is. And we can show up as whole in every situation and every relationship that we are in.
And it allows the people around us to do the same. That's a gift to give to your people.
Leah, you grew up in the UK. Do you remember Wurzel Gummidge?
Yes.
What?
Yes, exactly, Jen. Jen, Wurzel Gummidge was a scarecrow. He was at a children's TV programme.
Okay.
He had a shed at the bottom of the garden. Do you remember this far, Leah?
Vaguely.
Okay. So he used to go down the shed at the end of the garden, and he used to unscrew his head. He used to take his work head off and put his romance head on. So you have shelves with all these different heads on. And this is a really amazing illustration of non-integration of the different masks we wear, the different personas we carry around. This is Lucy at work, hello. And this is Lucy not at work. We did this. We grew up with Wurzel Gummidge, learning that we take our heads off and put other heads on. And this is what we're teaching, isn't it? It's how to have one head.
Yeah.
And be whole, be true, be grounded in who you are and all you are, and give that to the world.
And when all of those people, all of your heads are integrated around your core values, then you don't have to worry about whether those worlds mix. I remember you a few weeks ago, Lucy, saying that at one point in your life, you were desperately afraid that these people groups would mix, because oh my gosh, then they'd actually know about you. And instead, if all of these areas of your life are integrated around your core values, then you're not worried about whether the thing you posted on Instagram is seen by your boss, because all of those things together represent who you are, and you're authentic about that.
So this act of accounting all that we are and integrating all that we are, smushing those heads together and being that will stop fear of unknown, being found out, being caught, all those things. The things that it was my wedding, that moment in time, my first wedding, where I was so scared to bring my family and friends from that group and friends that I did that with, and the friends that thought I was this. Yeah, because I was living this highly segmented life, and I was deeply unhappy.
So what's the challenge for people? Why do they struggle to do this?
I think it's because we all just live on autopilot. I don't think anybody ever sets out to say, oh yes, let me make myself miserable by juggling all of the things and partitioning it off and never measuring up in any, like nobody ever sits down and makes a choice. But there's,
we say it's just the way it is. It's just
yeah.
the way. It's just the way we have to live. It's the sort of thing that we believe is the way the world is, but actually the world is completely different from that. It's the matrix. I know I quite frequently mention the matrix on these conversations, but it's when we're plugged into the matrix and we don't know we're plugged in, so we say it was just the way the world is, nothing we can do about it. It's a shame because it's shit. There's nothing we can do about it. There's so much we can do about it, and we're here to unplug you from the matrix.
For me, the beginning of integration was the relentless asking of why. And I was one of those relatively annoying children to begin with, where, why has long been part of my vocabulary. And I grew up in a family where people take kids' questions seriously and answer them seriously. And I'm sure I drove adults crazy. But as an adult, returning to that why, we allow that with little kids. But when adults start asking why, we get nervous. Because why are they asking why? But, to begin asking why in the areas that you're uncomfortable, like, well, I'm hating this. Why? Sit with that for a while.
Why is such a good question. I've read somewhere that asking 7 whys will take you to the core, to the actual, the splinter that's in your toe that's causing the backache, causing the misalignment, causing this, causing that, and then causing the migraine, causing your blurred vision. But it's actually a splinter in your toe. So asking why 7 times takes you to the splinter.
I like that.
Right.
So, integration. Yeah. I think when it comes to the mindset shift, we've talked about 3 mindset shifts, and when we talk about them, it feels like, we've made these, and it's like a kind of, we've done it, we've been there, we've done it, it's really easy, and look at the amazing benefits, and look how amazing, our lives, your lives can be. If it's that easy, why doesn't everybody do it? Why isn't everybody doing it?
I think it's doing it every day.
So sorry, I talked over you.
Doing it every day. It's not, you don't make a mindset shift like you flip a light switch. It's a conscious decision to keep working at it. At least it is for me.
And what we're offering is a good start to the journey. You're in a go-kart, we're going to push you down the hill. You're going to keep on the journey and stay traveling and choose with intention your destination. That's your place. That's your choice.
And I think we are helping you and encouraging you to dig into the why, because that's really that is the driver. That's the motivator for it, which is why are you doing it? And we can give you all of the reasons why we've done it, and we've made those changes, and we've made those conscious choices. But until you really understand and connect with your why, there's probably not quite so much motivation to do it, because it's hard. We were talking about it being a daily practice, and it's a daily practice. It isn't just suddenly that the light bulb switches on, everything changes, you suddenly start to hold boundaries, and all of the things that were really difficult for you before magically become easy. That isn't the case. It is an intentional and conscious way of living, and it can be work, and that's why we call it a boot camp, because it isn't just a magic pill.
No, but the people will come away from this with the tools. Like the people that I talk to that are most struggling with this, they don't know where to start. They're just totally overwhelmed. They know that they should be conscious of this, whatever that means. But how do you actually do that when you're in that pause that you're trying to stretch out that you talked about last time? And having the tools to, when you've got the splinter in your toe, know to ask why 7 times, to know where to start to begin to unpack what's actually going on that's making me miserable. Like, that's the gold, is having the tool. You then have to apply it daily, forever.
So it's kind of habit building, and habit building starts from that mindset shift. It has to start from here before you can actually do the practical stuff. So we'll be walking you through the mindset shifts and the way that the beliefs that you currently have and where they come from, and digging into why you have those and what other beliefs might serve you better, and how you can start to change those, and then how you can then start to build your life and your habits around those, to prop those up, keep those going, keep embedding them, keep strengthening them. And it's a daily practice, and it's a weekly practice and a monthly practice, and it's a lifelong practice.
And it's important for people to recognize that, because I wouldn't want anybody to feel like they were failing. They've got the tools, and then all this, they take the boot camp, and then the next week life is not magically better. Like, I don't have a magic wand. Perhaps Lucy does. She's got a lot more sparkle than I do.
It's the red pill or the blue pill.
Oh yeah, and that's a good analogy.
Pardon?
I said that was a good analogy. You have to keep taking the appropriate pill every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a whole other magic. It's not magic. It's a whole other measure of success as well. Because the image that came to me as you two were both speaking just then was, the way I used to feel was I was on a hamster wheel, and I thought that I was successful if I could keep that wheel moving, and maybe even go a bit faster. That was my success. That's what I was measuring myself against. And I was like, oh, Lucy, I haven't gone fast enough today. Push harder, run harder, go further. Round and round and round again. And that was my measure of success. And the thing that flipped for me when I started to integrate those parts of my life and live from my core values and just be me wherever, unapologetically and without shame, was that I got off the hamster wheel and chose intentionally a different measure of success. So I realized that going fast on doing the thing that I'd always been doing, thinking that was the right thing to be doing, and that was going to get me to that mythical place, the success thing.
Freedom, out of the cage. And all you did was go round in the wheel in the cage.
Exactly that. I was like, hooray, I'm going really fast today. I'm going to get out of this terrible cage. And I was just, working my way deeper into a groove of staying into that cave. Yeah.
But the really gold thing that you said right there, Lucy, was when you learned to be yourself authentically, without apology and without shame, everywhere you showed up in your life. That's the definition of integration.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's still quite a waffly concept for people. So, when I hear those words, I'm as woo as they come, but I hear those words sometimes, and I can, from clients that I've worked with, like, what does that mean? How do I do that? How do I, what do I have to do? Like, what does it mean to live, authentically, and to be the best version of me? And just, all of that kind of
stuff. Like some kind of hippie bullshit, doesn't it?
when you are in the middle of shit, and you're kind of going through it, and you're wading through it, and your kids are screaming, and you're trying to balance and juggle work and working from home and educating your kids at home, and we're going, just be your best self, be your most authentic self, and everything will be fine.
Don't ever say that to me, Leah. You got with that look on your face. Just be your best self. For me, there's 3 components of it. And the first one is becoming aware, becoming super self-aware. Know that you, first of all, know that this is not working for you. This hamster wheel existence and keeping all the bits apart and juggling and spinning the plates.
And that requires vulnerability. And that's something that people find really hard to kind of go, because it's almost an admission of doing it wrong, of not getting it right, and of kind of going, hang on a minute, I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing life wrong. And that requires a certain level of not just awareness, but vulnerability. So there's the awareness in the first place. And then there's the vulnerability to kind of go, oh, hands up, I'm not doing this right.
And an allowance of the feelings of fear and dread and all the feelings, an allowance of that that in itself can be a massive shift for people who aren't used to feeling or experiencing or articulating or expressing their feelings. So yeah, self-awareness is the first step. And the next one is spontaneity, is acting from that awareness in the moment, just saying, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need, this is what's going on for me, this is what I need to change. Oh my God, I'm on a hamster wheel. That kind of being from your knowledge of yourself, being from your awareness. And the last step is intimacy, is sharing that with yourself and with others, inviting others into your vulnerability and into your awareness, into the spontaneous acts of, this is what's going on for me here and now. It's huge.
So I'm playing devil's advocate tonight. So when I'm listening to this,
what's happening here?
And I'm still in this juggle and this stress ball of everything's going on around me, and I'm going, but really now I need to be aware and intimate with myself, and I have these conversations with myself, and then will that still change things for me?
Yeah,
They really mean, and I'm putting you on the spot, but because I know that it does, I know that it does. And I think that's the key, is that it's really easy for us to sit here and go, yes, it really does. And you have to do the inner work, and it's all about the inner work. And it is about the inner work, because as soon as you change things from within yourself, people respond to you differently. And it's almost an energetic thing as well. It's the energy that you put out into the world that I talk to my kids all the time. It's like a magnet. You kind of attract what you put out. And if you are putting out the stress and the I can't do this, and this is just too hard and it's too difficult, then guess what you're going to get back.
The other thing that comes to mind while you're talking about that, Leah, is it's also about where you put your faith. When integration is about putting your faith in yourself and in your ability to know what you need and what those around you are needing in a moment, and what you can give and what your boundaries are, where the other model that we all, unconsciously choose asks us to put faith in ourselves last. Everyone else knows better. Every other system knows better. We're supposed to have faith in the way the world is, and it is just that way. So we better buck up and work through it. And so really this integration mental shift that we're asking people to make at its very most simplistic is to begin having faith in yourself and trusting yourself first, and then asking why about all those things.
And that takes us all the way back round to the first mindset shift, which is prioritizing you.
Yeah.
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and your fate. So while stuff is out of your awareness and you're just like, well, it's just the way it is, isn't it? I can't help it. There's nothing I can do about it. While it's there, it rules us.
Yes.
It keeps us on the wheel, keeps our legs turning, keeps us
going. The goal should be for you to get your favorite quote in every live.
I think so too. I was thinking you just set her up for that, Leah. It was like you lobbed the ball.
I've succeeded.
Lucy smashed it back. But it is, what we are talking about is this, and we keep using the words awareness, and it is because so much of kind of what we do often is unconscious, and we don't question it, and we just kind of get our heads down and down these paths without raising our heads and kind of going, oh, is this it? Is this what I want to be doing? And I had I think I posted something on Facebook this week, and somebody commented and said, gosh, that really landed, because it was kind of consciously choosing your life. I hadn't really thought about it like that. And it's it's a simple concept, and yet it's so new sometimes and kind of deep and profound to people when they hear it for the first time.
And so many institutions in the world are stacked against that.
Yes.
It seems like it should be the simplest thing, but it's so hard to swim upstream.
Yeah, I was lucky. It happened for me in a real crisis. I was deeply miserable. I go as far as to say suicidally depressed, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I knew my life couldn't go on the way it was. And in that point of desperation, I made a choice to start as if I was new. And I didn't do it the next day at all, but I'd made the decision that at some point I would start as if I was new. And I think that started me on my journey towards becoming more conscious and more aware of what I was putting out there, what I was deciding for myself, what decisions I was making myself, and what stuff I was taking on that was just the way the world was, and I didn't have a choice. So where was I thinking I didn't have a choice, and where was I thinking, starting to account that I did have a choice? And that was the start for me. So yeah, I see that as lucky, because it was a kind of rude awakening. It was very rude and very traumatic. It was awakening, and not everybody's going to have that. Some other people are going to seep into this and realize that maybe there's another way, maybe there's a better way. Maybe these three people here who are talking about this other way of living have actually got something worth listening to. And if you're there, sign up for the boot camp.
Yeah, and to that point, which also ties back to something Jen said, is that, you know, kind of systemically, we aren't encouraged to do this. And when you make changes and you make waves within yourself, that makes waves for everybody else around you, and that can be really uncomfortable. And I know, particularly when it comes to things like home education and homeschooling, one of the things that people get really stressed about is, I'll lose all my friends. You know, I'll lose all my mum friends. I'll lose all the kind of, the kids will lose all their school friends. And it's about, again, that conscious choice. And yes, it can be scary, because when you make a change, that has an impact on other people. And, you know, many people are invested in keeping you the same and keeping you in the same place because it works for them. So one of the benefits, I think, of, you know, whether it's the three of us or some other people or another group, is to surround yourself with people who
Absolutely.
think in the way that you would like to think, and who believe some of the things that you believe, and who will help you kind of get there and make those shifts. Because otherwise you will be surrounded by people constantly wanting to pull you back and keep you back and hold you back.
Yeah, and that's where community is so important. You know, it's not enough to do a 2-day boot camp and call it good. Like, you need people. You need to surround yourself with the people that can help move you forward in those ways. Not only people who've done it, but people who are actively doing it.
Yeah. And even, you know, sometimes just having people who are, you know, when people are so far ahead of you, it can be really disheartening. And it's, you know, I've had that from coaching clients when they're like, but you're, you know, you've done this and you've done that, and I'm never going to get that. And actually surrounding yourself with people who, yes, are further ahead than you, but also maybe just one step ahead or half a step ahead. And you can see that, you know, it's a bit like kind of running a race, and you can just see that person, you can almost touch them on the shoulder. It's motivation that, you know, you can get there too. And it isn't that someone is, you know, is lapping you 10 times round.
And being that person for the guy who's right one step behind you, you know, reaching a hand back to help the next woman forward is what we do.
Yeah, it's a beautiful part of what we do, isn't it? I think having people alongside us as we grow is so important. I know that in my growth journey, I lost people who I believed were my friends, who I believed were my lifelong companions. And you know, that was hugely sad and distressing for me. And there was a point where I was at a tipping point and I'd lost some people and didn't have new people that were intimately close enough for me. And I felt so alone and lonely. And I think that one of the things that Beyond School provides is a community. We provide Boost, which is our membership community, where we welcome you in and hold you as you grow. So that's a really important thing. If you are considering doing the Beyond the Juggle bootcamp, I would join Boost as well while you're at it, because that will give you the container to grow safely and securely with some people who are doing it too.
It isn't just a kind of 2-day, 5-hour boot camp and then we go, kick you out, there you go, or you're off on your own.
Yeah, no.
There are other courses, there are other things there that can help you keep making those shifts and making those moves and changes.
Well, this has been a good reminder for me today, girls.
Isn't it? It's great. It's a reminder of where, for me, it's a reminder of where I come from. And I'm like, okay, pat on the back. I'm not where I'm headed yet. I'm off the hamster wheel though.
That's good.
So good. Do either of you have anything to add?
We're back on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're back on Wednesday. And I think, you know, heading into the holidays, I was thinking about that this morning, how important this is heading into the holidays. And it's one of the reasons we've got this plan for December 12th, 13th, right? Is that people are really at their max juggling during this season of life. And so if I were to tell people to do one thing this week between now and next Wednesday when we meet again, would be to say, you know, start down that 7 whys path that Lucy's talking about. Start asking why.
Yeah. Cool. I think as we head towards the holidays, other people's expectations or the way it should be, the shoulds are louder, the volume's ramped up on the shoulds, and we're all thinking how we should make Christmas feel. Thanksgiving, I think, has gone and passed. But all the things that come at this time of year, we're all caught up on how we should be, how we should present ourselves to our world. Things are different at the moment. In the UK, we're in lockdown. We're only allowed to see 3 households. And I think that probably counts me out of seeing anybody else at all. Yeah, so become conscious of the shoulds and ask yourself why 7 times. Every time you notice a should.
if we add the link as well to our email series, because I think that helps people start asking the why. And
Yeah.
we've got 3 emails at least, and that helps you down the path of asking and starting to answer the why.
So we're going to put that in the comments below the video, and we'll be with you on Wednesday, and we'll look forward to that.
Have a lovely weekend, ladies.